Greetings, ISL fans. My name is Lucky, and it is time for our Week 5 Power Rankings. Typically, and from this point forward, I should note, you will see the current Power Rankings and the previous week's Power Rankings. However, since the most recent Power Rankings was all the way back in Week 1, there's really no point in doing that, as the amount of changes that have taken place are so immense and so drastic by the players, the coaches, and the rankings themselves. You really can't make good comparisons. So, right on into it, sitting at number 12, we have the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Carolina Panthers are one of two teams that still sit at 0-5. Ergo, they have no wins so far. The reason I have them at number 12 as opposed to number 11 is I feel that their performance was more lacking, and I feel that they did not preserve their win conditions to the same extent as their number 11 spot, which goes to the Chicago Gliscor. The Chicago Gliscor, they put up a good fight. They did. The issue is that they were simply outclassed, and they were a little too overzealous. There's nothing to be said about how they played other than the fact that there's a certain amount of practice that they need to do in order to make their moves more carefully. Because I feel that the biggest issue that they had was most likely making moves too quickly. Whereas the Carolina Panthers at number 12, I feel that their biggest issue was not preserving their win conditions properly. Primarily their extra drill, which was their only form of hazard removal, and the rest of their team didn't really appreciate Stealth Rock. They have Toxicroak, which resists it, but other than that, they didn't really have anything that, likes Stealth Rocks, or coming in on Stealth Rocks for that matter. And they also did not really bring a Pokemon that could properly take on Hippowdon, with the exception of Mega Venusaur, which got taken out rather quickly. As for the number 10 spot, the number 10 spot goes to the Texas Rhyhorns. Now, the Texas Rhyhorns are 1-4. They have 1 win under their belt and 4 losses. They just let their team get worn down. They didn't keep enough Pokemon healthy, I believe is the best way to say it. Because by the end of the match, they got swept by Tyrantrum. Tyrantrum took out 5 of their Pokemon in a row because they simply did not have the bulk remaining. Tyrantrum set up 1 Dragon Dance, took a close combat from Terrakion with its Chople Berry, and then just took out the rest of the team. And I believe the Texas Rhyhorns just simply let things get weaker than they should have. I think that was the biggest issue that they encountered. As for the number 9 spot, that goes to the San Francisco 49tails. There wasn't a lot of fault with how they played. As you will see, the Utah Wees are at number 8. These two were very close, in my opinion. Despite the fact that the Utah Wees won and the San Francisco 49tails lost, it was a very toss-up match that was won by priority. And there's really no way around that. I believe the biggest issue that the San Francisco 49tails faced was lackluster team planning. I think that was their biggest downfall, as their ways of handling certain Pokemon were generally lacking, as they had 0 Pokemon that naturally outsped Weavile, and when you have a Pokemon that's as strong as Weavile is, you might want to bring some more Switch Initiative or some more Scarf or something like that that enables you to get the upper hand against a Pokemon like Weavile that is so incredibly dangerous in this format. Speaking of which, at number 8, we have the Utah Wees. The Utah Wees played well. There were definitely things that could have been improved upon. The thing about them that I really enjoyed about how they played is they preserved their win condition, which was Weavile. They brought it in when they had to, and they pulled it out when they didn't. They didn't let Weavile sit on the field and get weakened because they knew that they needed to preserve it. Which I definitely think was a very well thought out plan. At number 7, we have the Atlanta Braviary. The Atlanta Braviary, it can be debated that they won due to hacks. However, there's no guarantee. You see, near the end of the battle, Muck went for Shadow Sneak on the +6 Manaphy, and with the ability Poison Touch, got the poison, which means that Manaphy went down, well, basically immediately. It went down, I believe that turn or the turn after, when it probably shouldn't have. That said, the spread that Manaphy was running, most likely, and I cannot guarantee this, but most likely would have been outsped by Mega Gardevoir. And Mega Gardevoir most likely could have taken it out itself with what I would assume to be a Hyper Voice. So I believe that ultimately the battle could have gone in favor of the Atlanta Braviary. However, I can't be certain. I do have to ask a couple questions, but I don't want to base the rankings off of that. So, now that we're at the halfway point, I'm going to do a very quick recap about slots 7 through 12. We have the Carolina Pansiers at 12, Chicago Gliscor at 11, Texas Rhyhorns at 10, San Francisco 49tails at 9, Utah Wees at 8, and the Atlanta Braviary at 7. As for number 6, we have the New England Patrats. The New England Patrats played well. They did. But they didn't play impressively, I think would be the way that I have to put it. Keep in mind, I do need to be watching the battles week by week to really understand the players themselves, but to the coaches, the players of the Pokemon. However, I was not incredibly impressed by the New England Patrats' performance. I'm not saying that they did not perform well. I'm just saying that I believe they could have performed better. I believe their use of Latios was not as good as it should have been, although one very impressive prediction where Latios managed to drop a Draco on the incoming, I believe, Thunderous Therian. Yeah, I believe it was Thunderous Therian, and one-shotting it. That was probably my favorite play from all the matches that I've seen this week, because Latios was targeting, technically, a Mawile, which is immune, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. But with the exception of that, I didn't feel that there were any incredibly impressive plays made by the New England Patrats. However, that is not to take away from their overall performance. Sitting at number 5, we have the Georgia Glaceons. Slots 1 through 5 were very difficult for me to choose between because all 5 were played very well, and they were all good matches, and they all executed their plans very well. The Georgia Glaceons dethroned the Rotterdam Staraptors. The Rotterdam Staraptors and Manistee City were both sitting at 4-0 in Week 4, and they both were dethroned. The Georgia Glaceons played very well. The Rotterdam Staraptors played well. However, there were a few mistakes that I really did not agree with. For example, Mega Charizard X, I believe, tried to set up much too soon. Primarily when your opponent has an Uxie with Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave paralyzes Mega Charizard X. And I just don't feel like Mega Charizard X was as dangerous as it needed to be. I believe that it was worn down too quickly, and I believe that it tried to set up too early. Nidoking got outclassed. I believe that the Rotterdam Staraptors just got outclassed in this match, which is why I was so impressed with the Georgia Glaceons, because they played so incredibly well and were able to overpower their opponent. And I believe that's their strong suit. I believe they need to continue on this path of bringing the power and battling relentlessly. Sitting in at number 4, we have the Cincinnati Regigigas. I loved this game and how they played it because they used their Hippowdon in such a beautiful fashion. 3 of the 6 kills were by Hippowdon because they let Hippowdon do what it does best. Tank hits, control the field, and hit back. Doesn't have to hit back that hard. It just has to hit back at all. And that's what they let Hippowdon do. Hippowdon basically just sat there, took hits, controlled the field with moves like Roar and Sandstorm. Well, its ability Sandstream and moves like Roar. And it just controlled the field. And it eventually got taken down, but the work that it put in was very impressive. And that's one of the reasons that I have the Cincinnati Regigigas higher on this list, is because I was very, very impressed with how well they used Hippowdon and didn't let it get pigeonholed into a mixed wall. They said it can do more. As for our number 3 slot, that goes to the Dallas Victory Stars. The Dallas Victory Stars pulled off a very impressive Tyrantrum sweep. My favorite part about the match being the Choppleberry. I was able to figure out that Terrakion was scarfed. It wasn't too difficult to figure that part out. I would have assumed that Tyrantrum was Focus Sashed. This was not the case, clearly, as it had a Choppleberry, which enabled it to take the Terrakion's close combat extremely well. It only did around 50%. And the other part about the Dallas Victory Stars is that they didn't get overzealous about it. They didn't try and set up 5 Dragon Dances. They set up 1 because they knew it was enough. They did not outspeed Terrakion because they knew that they did not have to because of the Choppleberry. I believe the team prep by the Dallas Victory Stars was one of the best, if not the best, this week. And I very much look forward to seeing how they do in the following week. Sitting in at number 2, we have the Rotterdam Staraptors. They played a good game. They did. There's no denying that. They got overpowered and got taken down. That said, they still have they are still tied with the best record around because of how well their team is built and how good they are at using it. I believe they simply got overpowered in this match, and it's something that I'm sure the Rotterdam Raptors coach will work very hard to prevent from happening again in the future. As for the number 1 slot, that goes to Manaphy City, as the outcome of the match is debatable. I have to check, but from what I could see, it appeared that the match could have gone either way. There's no way to be certain. I will have to check, run some calcs and whatnot. But Manaphy City is at number 1 on my list, as I do feel that they played the best and they still have the record to back it up. I want to thank you guys so very much for watching. I will see you next week for the Week 6 Power Rankings, and I'm going to get up out of here. Bye-bye.